Oh, okay, boss, where do you want to start?
So I think the thing that really needs to be accomplished today is any of the requests that were not salary requests, I kind of need a yes or a no. That will then determine what amount of money we have to go back and talk about salary requests. I have been working on some stuff with salaries we'll go over just to kind of give you guys some information that you can think about, and then I'd like to do tomorrow kind of all salaries if we can.
So, a lot of times we start at the front of the book and work our way backwards. So to be fair, should we start at the back and go forwards this time because the auditor's always
I was
first?
gonna say, mine's always first. No, we shouldn't do that.
Well, I just say we're 0 for 1 then right away because our auditor and requested budget didn't even agree with the department requested budget, so. I don't know about you two, I wish y'all would get along better.
I'm pretty sure that was a typo on my end, not that Jennifer was doing anything that she didn't deserve a raise. It was a typo on my end.
So what page are we on?
Well, so real
25
quick,
is auditors.
before we go to a page, I did get from the treasurer's office just this morning that the final sales tax numbers came in. I guess go to actual is where we want to be, so that number is going to be $7,333,968.
Say it again.
$7,333,968.
Wow.
What page are we on with that?
That's gonna hit 3 different funds, Harry, so I will update them as we talk about them.
I'll get you that breakdown for the whole year comparison.
Yeah, I was trying to find it, I couldn't find my sheet, so.
Yeah, we just got it this
There's
morning.
three taxes that generate the same amount.
Yes,
course.
yes, cause they're all,
They all have same.
they're all half-cent sales taxes. There's probably a $50 to $100 difference between them
Yeah.
based on somebody that doesn't do something correctly, but, you would think that they would be exactly the same, but they're never exactly.
The original budget number was,
7,200,000. So we picked up 133,968.
that was the original budget.
Yep.
Is it shared?
Well, our original budget from 21 was 6,700,000.
The adjusted budget was.
Right. My projected for next year was 7,200,000.
For next year.
Mhm.
For 23.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, 22.
22.
Based on actual this year.
So, but original budget from 21 was only 6,700,000.
Yes.
Now, we did have the discussion last year that we did not go to actual last year for the first time because
It was an unusual.
it was an unusual increase in the year, so you all decided not to go to actual last year. We actually reduced it.
Well, and that was
2.
a historical,
Yeah, we've never seen an 8% increase in sales tax before.
nowhere close to that in the last 10 years.
Oh, more than 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
One other one we can probably look at as well is I also have use tax numbers. It's gonna take me a minute to calculate, but I do have total use tax.
And that does not really follow sales tax.
And you've already, I mean, at this point, our projected sales tax for 2022 is 7.2.
It's 7.2, but we will adjust it to actual. So we will go to the 7,333,000. We will take the increase that we got this year and include it.
I know where that
I
mine
don't know.
is. I know where that mine was going right there.
Yeah.
You saw the bills.
I did.
Now, I was just seeing if you got that sign painted yet, ready for a year from now. But we're gonna have to sit there and look at
the.
the.
So sign.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything, but
You know what? But see, that doesn't bother me here.
It bothers me that it's unrealistic to say it's not going up. I understand.
I don't know, I'll tell you.
conservatism and Being careful with OPM, other people's money, but,
With
It's just
inflation
that
and everything
we
else.
say we have to.
Fluctuates.
Well, I know, but, well, then we shouldn't have COLAs. Because.
I think
Maybe it doesn't go up there.
I think part of it is I know I've been here in years where it was less than 1% for multiple years. So
That's where I come from.
we've gotten burned the other way, and
And
it's
some
like I
went
always
down.
want to be in the black and not the red.
Well, when you're always in the
Me
black,
too.
you have these increasing reserves.
Right.
which are hard to-
Correct. So total use tax will be 2,509,588.20.
Two
Oh,
what?
you got to the cents.
2,509,588.
25. It's 20 cents.
2.5 mil.
So right now, the budget number in there is 2,300,000. Would you like that one to go up?
Yes, for two, well, really for one reason, I guess, is because it's not gonna go down.
Yeah, I think use tax,
And, now,
Okay, say it again.
you know,
Say it
there are
again.
use tax, it's in a changing environment due to Wayfair.
It is.
Yeah.
Some of them had already. picked up-
Self-reported. So yes,
Self-reported.
that piece of information is good to know because now we know if they're self-reporting, that
That
increase
explains some
will
of this
stay.
increase.
Yes. Prior to that, it was self-reporting and there were not many companies voluntarily
Right.
reporting.
But we don't think there's gonna be any company who was previously either reporting or self-reporting who won't be reporting going forward. There's nothing to make that.
Correct.
Yeah,
With
except
with
loss of
the
business.
change to Wayfair, they will have to report.
Okay.
So the change with Wayfair should be minimal because some of the larger ones are already voluntarily reporting. So, do I have someone
I
else
would be fine with
going to
on-
actual?
on use.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd definitely concede on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
and
I will.
I think it is gonna go up. You may see sales tax go down
2,509,588.
Yeah,
because of that even in the future,
Don't
but
forget 27.
20 cents.
We don't do cents in the budget, Harry. Don't do cents in the budget. You either have to round up or round down.
And I
Okay.
forget that and I get in trouble.
Yes, you do.
There's no sense in the budget.
Because Debbie makes budget adjustments with cents and it throws it off.
I heard it here too.
Okay, so let's go to page. As soon as I find the first one, which is the auditor.
Debbie, do you have a
25.
spreadsheet with all the past year's sales tax? Just,
Yeah.
I had one somewhere I can't
have
find.
one too. I don't have it. I could
I
not
just-
find it. At
Have
the
you
moment.
seen that, Harry?
No,
Well,
I
I
haven't
see-
seen,
No,
I
I
don't
give
think.
it
I
to
sent
guys
you
every-
one
I give
that
it to you
showed
guys every
the
month.
comparison year to year, that showed the increase from one year to the other over the last probably 10 or 15
Yeah.
years.
I send that email to you guys once a month when we get that sales tax.
No, that's just covering the last couple
With
of
an
years.
assessed valuation.
There's different tabs
It is.
on it.
Oh, so if I look at the last
Oh,
one.
no, I'm sorry, no, there's not. I copy and paste those, so
Okay.
yeah. I'll send you the whole spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I have
Yeah,
mine
I-
updated somewhere. I
it's
just have to find it.
Interesting to see that, so I think
Yes.
same.
And I think
Joe
that's the
said it too,
interesting
you've
thing
probably
is
seen
we
it.
went multiple years less than 1%, then we kind of picked up to where we were averaging
Two.
somewhere between 2 and 4. Most of the time closer to the 2 number. And then we hit last year and we hit 8%, which was unpredicted.
yeah.
Before we went for the law enforcement sales tax, we were in the double digits of increasing every year. So that was, really tells you a lot on our capital.
Dollar wise, yeah.
Increases,
Yeah.
yes. So we went from that to barely 1, so that's when we got really backing off. Because that hurt.
So
It
we're on
hurt.
page 25.
Yep, 25. So I didn't have any changes to anything beyond the 4% in salaries. Did you guys have any additional questions?
Nope.
Do we at some later point say, what if it's more than 4 or less than 4?
Yes, so I think let's do these and then we will fully talk about salaries and what the options are and what that looks like once we've
All right.
done everything besides salaries. So right now, only other expenses besides salaries. Collector was the same way, no changes.
Page.
Just keep the
27.
next one. Yeah,
Yeah, we're just
in
gonna
order
go
from
straight
here.
through the book.
Okay.
Anything in there you want to talk about or changes that you see? The 2 items in there that are a little questionable is postage and printing and binding. Those two items don't come till the end of the year with tax bills going out. So we're guessing on that number at the moment. We hope we're close.
The postage for calendar 22 is going to be considerably more. I mean, did we have the postage increase? That's plus. Didn't we
Yeah,
have-
so this year it went up quite a bit.
During-
One, because
late in
we
the
saw
year?
an increase in postage amount itself, and two, because we were having some issues with tax bills not going together in one envelope like we have in the past.
Okay. And I mean, we had a nationwide postage increase later in this
Yeah.
current year.
Correct. So
Okay.
we've seen a portion of that, yes.
I did have just a little note to myself, I think, under salaries, although we're skipping salaries, I guess, why it's lower under, from 198 to 196.
So 198 is the department requested, so he had some merit increases in there that aren't in the
Never
other.
mind. Got it.
So
Okay,
if
never
you're
mind.
looking last year to this year, you need to look at that second column and the last column.
Okay. Got it. All right. Sorry.
Then on the back side of that, page 28 is just his tax maintenance fund. That is one of those funds where all of the expenses on one line, and he gets everything he collects to spend. He gets to carry that forward. So that one's going to be determined based on what number he has in the bank as of 12/31.
So those are, a few departments have these kind of what we used to call the slush
Okay.
funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
County Treasurer, page 30. So he had two requests. One was a salary thing, which we can talk about later. The other one was a publication. So he had a publication that he wanted to add to his current one of getting the Wall Street Journal. I think we did ask him to see if he could get the Wall Street Journal cheaper to maybe stay within this budget, even with an additional publication. I haven't heard anything back from him. I don't know if you all did either.
No.
Do you want to increase his publication line?
I do.
Have one yes, one no, Jeff?
If we can get that Wall Street Journal down, I think I'd be okay with it, adding that other publication. But I haven't heard anything yet,
I haven't either.
so,
Right, so that's sort
We
of
could-
up in the air, that's
Get it
fine.
done.
Did,
so, what other publications do we get across the board for the county? Do we get the News Tribune, probably
about
about,
it.
Yeah, we don't get a lot otherwise. A lot of things like Westlaw for attorneys and stuff has gone online, and it's not,
we still pay
It-
for it though, right?
it's a research tool. It's not really a publication. It's like, hey, I want to go up and research this law and what cases have been there. So it doesn't come out of a publication line. It comes more of like a training or a
Professional
resource
services.
line. So really across the board, most of the time, publication is a newspaper.
Yeah.
See, I just think Eric he's rather restricted on how he can invest our money. So, you know, I love the Wall Street Journal. It's very informative, but we can't really use the knowledge from that, the information from that to invest our money. So
I dispute that. We've got a $100 million operation here. At times, our treasurer is investing 30, 40, $50 million.
Quite that high. We're
Well,
about
the reserves-
14. We're about 14 million right now.
For-
Invested.
Invested,
Yep.
all right.
I mean,
But-
there are
but
restrictions on what he can and can't.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, but 14, 15 million, and he's asking for Wall Street Journal, which is about $700 a year.
no,
Yeah.
this is what he wants to
He wants to add an
is
additional
a-
300. Yep.
Well,
So a total of 1,000.
all right, I'm in favor of it. I can be voted down 2-1. That's all okay. I'm on record as being in favor of it. Let me just jump over to, are we talking about equipment here too on this one or not? Is that later?
We will,
Right here.
I think,
We
do
touch
it.
that later?
Yeah.
Because
if-
he asked for some.
Yeah, so
okay.
I think when we get to the end of the
Okay.
book, we'll do
And that
all
I'm
equipment
fine with,
together.
so,
All right.
yeah.
So, let's leave the publication in there.
At 700, or you want to add? He's asking for an additional 300 beyond what's in there right now.
He wants the line to be 1,000.
Yes.
Okay. I'm in favor of that.
So I had, yeah, I had 975, so it's actually 1,000 is what it is. I'm up in the air on it, I can argue both sides. Let's just do the 1,000 and let's see where we're at the end of the day. If we need $275, that's where we go get it from. That's the only two he gets. I thought they got more than that up there, so.
No.
And we need to
He
ask him
was
to.
just getting the Wall Street Journal.
We need to ask him if we get online access for that price too, because we could always go look at it too. I mean, I don't dig into that stuff at all, but it's gotta be
It's a good magazine.
interesting, so.
It really is a good magazine.
You should just give your hand-me-downs to the treasurer. Sorry.
There you go. If you would
Yeah, we can share.
Well.
Okay.
He can give us his
Okay.
hand-me-downs too.
Page
Bring them down.
31 is the school fund and the tax overplus fund. Again, those are in and out accounts, restricted by law, so not a lot to talk about there. Everything that comes in gets budgeted to be spent out. Do you guys have any questions or things related to those two on page 31?
Nope.
No, but I was gonna go back to with the Mark retiring thing, where we're gonna talk about that in salary.
I think so. I was gonna leave anything that touches the salary
That's
line
fine.
to be a discussion of salaries by themselves,
Right.
so,
Okay,
okay.
very good. Let's keep that playing then unless something changes, but.
If you don't have anything with school fund or tax overplus, the next one is the county clerk.
Oh, the clerk is next?
What did
Oh,
we
it is,
find out
okay.
on the maintenance?
I don't think I got any more information on it either. So that is the two changes he had. One was to add the maintenance agreement on the folder stuffer, which would be an additional $2,096 in equipment service contract. And then he also wanted $800 to $1,000 in equipment repairs. So equipment repairs is kind of one of those accounts that sometimes we need it, sometimes we don't. We went multiple years without needing it, so it kind of got pulled out of the budget. I definitely think that's a circumstance where you could transfer from contingency if you did have a machine go down. So it's philosophy on how you want to budget. Do you want to leave that amount in there so they can play with it and move it around if they don't spend it, or do you want to wait and transfer in when they have an issue?
I think we've got one machine down, I thought he said, but,
We have
I-
one machine missing.
oh, okay. But I don't care either
Weren't we
way.
trying to figure out if they were gonna have some kind of routine maintenance included in that and
So
stuff
I think
too,
that
or-
was on the folder stuffer.
Yeah.
So that's the other request, was to add the maintenance on the folder stuffer. And I don't know that I've seen any additional information to be what that is included. So we could make a note to ask for that information again.
Yeah, 'cause that's like
Will you?
$2,000, so.
Running list of people to ask questions. And then equipment repairs, what's your philosophy?
My philosophy is we shouldn't do budget adjustments during the year for a couple $100. So I think we should budget for those couple $100 to happen. And
Knowing
if-
that it could be moved.
knowing that it could be moved to coffee,
Okay.
whatever. But you know what, why, if we've got a $50 million budget, why should we ever have a $200 budget adjustment? That's my point.
History has.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I'm fine either way, so.
Damn, I'm gonna lose that one.
800 or
More than
1,000?
once.
1,000.
You good?
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
come
that-
back.
$100.
That was one I was just gonna say, you know, if it happens, we can
Then
get it
the
out of
answer, right?
contingency, but.
All right.
I said,
Okay.
I have
Well,
800 to 1,000, so they did that.
I'm sorry, 800. 800, how's that?
800?
800. All right, we saved $200.
And then we'll find out later on the other binder
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Not a million,
I-
800.
Yeah, cause I struggle with that cost unless it's gonna include something with maintenance and, them garage doors kinda brings me back to the maintenance thing. I think we could've got a little more life out of them if we had some
Agreed.
routine maintenance.
Agreed.
So one other change you will see to, His budget that's currently not in there is he normally gets some funding from the state. It goes into that have a grant line as long as it's state grant funding and not federal. He's supposed to be getting me documentation on what that number is, but it will adjust both sides. So you will see the revenue in the have a grant line in the 48758, and then you will see an increase for that same amount in the have a expense line of 58758.
He's budgeted for 3 elections in calendar
Yes.
22,
Yes.
which is February,
No,
August.
in April, in
April, I'm sorry.
August, and in November,
April, August, November. Yes, okay.
because you don't have a presidential,
Right.
which would normally be your February.
Okay.
Could something else come up?
So there could be other elections there depending on if someone adds something, but,
But they pay for that.
they do, so.
Okay.
Page 34 is election services. This one's a lot like tax maintenance. It's a side fund for the clerk's office. Everything going in gets budgeted to come back out. And I don't know if you guys want an explanation of, most of the time these funds are set aside for, this one in particular is set up to help with election expenses. So, if.
Some of that you budgeted could be used in here.
Yes, so, he could use this to buy voting machines, he can use it to buy poll pads, he can use it for any expense that would help him run his elections more efficiently. Page 35, we didn't really talk deeply about is, neighborhood improvement funds. We currently have 3, Parkview Meadows, Randall Drive, and the other one is either Fanewood or, I gotta look it up. We had 2 drop off last year and I don't remember which one it was.
Ketterman drop off?
Is it Ketterman that dropped off or Fanewood that dropped off?
Good question, but we
Yeah.
got those.
Yes,
That's
there
all
are
that is.
3. I will pull them up here so you can see them. But it is the special assessments that are charged to the taxpayers in those districts that they pay in annually. And then we use those special assessments to pay for the debt service that provided those improvements. The third one is Ketterman, and it should be paid off next year. We do have a few taxpayers that are behind, so it may carry over an additional year, but it will fall off as well. Any questions there? That one's truly set by what our debt service and interest payments are on the debt. Page 37 is the commission's budget. I think the only change beyond salaries there was in mileage, and we did, I think, add $1,000 or $500 for a total of 1,000. Because, yeah, a total of 1,000. That is mainly due to, we had some in 127 and some in 122. Next year, we're gonna try to do it all out of one and be a little more focused on what that cost is.
Where did we acquire the mileage allowance dollar or cents per mile amount, and when was that most recently done?
Well, it
It
hasn't
is.
been changed for quite some time, but we are paying more than the state does now. It used to be we were kind of with the state, not federal. We never got to the federal level, but then the state kind of pushed theirs back.
We
and
never pushed
We
back.
never pushed ours back.
The state is punishing their people with 28 cents a mile or something like that. We don't need to go there.
Yeah, so when theirs rolled back, ours stayed the
Ours stayed
same.
the same.
We never went backwards.
but we're at 47 or 48?
47 and a half.
47 and a half. Okay.
And I'm not sure what the state, or the feds is like 50. Yeah. So we're
It jumps
really-
around annually. I think it's more in the middle 50s at this point. It's probably going to go up based upon,
I think we would hear a little bit more if gas prices were high, because that's when we usually get
they are.
high.
Higher. We remember
When it
the
really
days of
got
$4
high,
a gallon.
yes, that's when we changed it. So we can look into that area if you'd like.
Bottom of the page is financial institution tax. There is a portion of that tax that comes in For other districts, it comes in and gets paid directly back out. That is this portion here. You will see the county's portion of that in 127 and 211, which is Public Works. This is just the portion that comes in for those fire districts or other municipalities that gets paid directly back out. Page 39 is domestic shelter. Again, this is fees that are charged down in the recorder's office. Currently, the only place that applies for that funding is RACS. So twice a year we pay that amount out to RACS, and they are currently the only one that applies. Page 41 is the recorder.
The IRS mileage allowance is 56 cents. Recorder, okay. Oh, here this is.
Recorder's office, I don't have any notes that aren't related to salaries in her MOU, so that one we will push unless you guys have questions about something in her budget.
Are we hoping to get that floor thing done this year? Does it matter, or?
I don't think it will matter. If you, get it done this year, it most likely will not be completed, so it'll be an open purchase order that carries forward, and
Okay.
it will probably come out of capital improvement sales tax, not out of her budget
Oh,
directly.
okay, got it.
On the back side of that page is her additional fund. It's technology and things to update her office. Everything in goes back out. And that is where a portion of her MOU comes from, is that funding that she pays from that fund to general fund to cover the additional,
Part-time.
yep.
And the one full-time, just the salary.
Yes, so her current MOU is 2 part-time employees and the salary portion of a full-time employee. Her proposal for next year is the county to cover that full-time employee's salary, and she just covers the 2 part-timers. And the 2 part-timers do include benefits, so the Social Security on that. Next is GIS. We did make a slight adjustment in GIS for her equipment service contract, and that was due to her getting actual numbers between when the budget was done and stuff. So we did adjust her equipment service line by $398 for a total of $11,217. The other request from Melissa was plat books, printing of plat books, which we do not every year, but when we have multiple requests. My suggestion would be that those plat books are not paid for out of her budget, but out of 127. I don't see those plat books as a cost of her department. I see that as a county cost itself. 127 is general accounts, which covers those costs that cover multiple departments. So my suggestion would be to increase the publication or printing and binding in 127 for that amount, not her budget. But I will say, if we sell those plat books, the revenue from that will show in her budget because it's her time and effort that go into preparing the plat book. So even though the cost of actual printing will not show there, the revenue will, because it's her time and effort that goes into preparing it.
But then where does that money go?
Into that
It
top
just
line.
offsets her salaries and stuff in her budget for her
So
time.
it goes back out, because this just zeroed on the other stuff. There's no carryover or anything from previous
Yeah, no.
plat books and
And
stuff.
the
So-
last time she sold plat books was 2020.
So do we okay that here, or do you wanna wait till we get to 127 and? we
127's
revisit it there?
next, so we'll go there and
Okay.
then approve it.
What about her plotter?
Plotter, yeah, for 10,000.
So her plotter would come out of capital improvement, so we'll talk
Okay.
about that
Okay.
when we get there.
Okay.
I did not make that note,
No,
so,
I didn't either, so.
alright, thank you.
So 127 is next. Again, this is general accounts. It's for the costs that cover multiple departments within the county. So
It's kind of
the
balanced.
audit costs, the economic development, workers' comp, all of those kinds of things. This is where I would suggest That printing and binding, which is 53281,
How much did she say?
1200.
So 3,200 in there?
Are you guys good with that?
I'm sorry, what line are you on?
53281,
Okay,
printing and binding.
right.
And we would change that to 3,200 instead of 2,000. The only other note I have in 127 was the possibility of maybe changing where the lobbyist is paid out of. Currently, we're paying it out of economic development. The suggestion was maybe that should come out of professional services instead of economic development.
I think it should. I think we should, that 185 is made up of 5, 60, and 120? Is that right?
So, sorry, I'm trying to find that line. So the 185 is 5,000 to Salute to America. I still had $60,000 in there for a lobbyist because we hadn't signed that contract yet, and then 120,000 for the Regional Economic Partnership.
Is that okay with you,
Yeah.
Jeff, on that?
It makes sense to do it that way.
Okay,
Okay.
and,
So-
the 60, now that's our new contract, is it 5 a month?
It's not, 60 was the
it's
prior,
really-
I don't have,
I think it's 4. I think it's 4.
okay,
There should
so,
be a PO out there already.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
what is that? It's 4,000 a month.
4,800.
48.
I'm telling you, I'm a little slow today. I'm trying to do too many things at once.
that's scary. No.
Do you guys want to go through other things like professional services right now? It has a list of items in it. We do have 15,000 set aside if we have to hire outside legal counsel for something. We do have a $13,000 payback to the collector for a surtax issue. We have a couple of different payroll contracts that we pay out of there, WageWorks and corporate services. We do have the hosting of our website out of that line. We do have the financial report that we do for the jail cops out of that line. Any questions on any of those
So
items?
are we gonna be doing, if we're gonna be doing some stuff where we have to pay to see other salaries and stuff like we were talking about earlier?
We
Is
have an
that
agreement with
something
that
that-
in 122, right? You have-
Right, so as a membership of that association, I think Sheila gets some of those services if we have additional. We do have an other line in professional services of about $5,000 if we have to pay for
That,
something.
yep, that answers my question. I
Yep.
mean, that just was something that came up, and if we can, like Eric said, if we don't have to make an
So,
adjustment
and
later on.
going back to the beginning, in general, are we gonna take the local use tax and up to 2,500,000?
I did change that number when we talked about it earlier to
Yeah,
actual,
okay.
2509588.
Yeah, okay.
So economic development is going to change to 125, correct?
Yes.
And then we're going to take.
125 and then the other one.
48 you're going to move down to professional
Yep,
services.
so 99,100 will be the new professional services line.
$99,000 what?
100.
What'd we talk about the other day about chamber stuff? Was that in here?
Yeah, I got a note here too. I think we put it in their meeting, travel dues, travel and
It was
dues.
1666,
16,
but
yeah. when-
What was the add 1,700 for whatever that you were saying everybody could be a member of the chamber? So I thought we were gonna put that in meetings and travel.
We did,
That's where I
so
have it.
$3,666 went to meetings, travels, and dues.
And the other, does that include the AIM on the 2,000?
That comes
That's
out.
out of 122, Sheila.
Okay.
Other items in there you want to talk about? Do you guys see any changes to the parking agreement with the library? I currently have that revenue still in there. I don't know if that's something,
That's a revenue number.
yes.
And do they lease spots on the Adams Street area?
At 209 Adams, yes.
Are we gonna lose a few spaces because of a garage door going up
Yeah, I
over
think we
there?
are.
And
So we maybe need to renegotiate.
well, we may just say that there aren't as many spaces. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
And
just,
right now, I think it's a gentleman's agreement, there really isn't any contract with this.
and we did reduce the expense side of parking due to the purchase of the lot back here that we were leasing from the city. Those spots, we now own them. So that expense side was reduced. I just need to know if you see changes to the revenue side.
but we need to let the library know that with
Yes.
the garage door, thing like that, they are gonna lose, I don't know how many spaces.
Are they not losing them at the moment due to the contractors? I don't know.
I haven't been over there since.
What's our agreement with, I know you call it a handshake, but is it, they
They
get so
are,
many spaces for X dollars?
Is it a month?
They were paying, Tony Weldon to lease all that lot. Well, at one time, they had their administrative offices in 209.
Yes.
So when we,
30 spaces at $37 a space.
1,100 a month we get.
yeah, so when we bought it, Claudia just wanted to know if they could still keep those. And at that time,
Do they have 30 of them over there? I don't think they have 30. That's what it says.
Well, we
They
took-
do. They got about 12 on the outside, 10 in that inside row that we have half of, and then 10 along the building. So yeah, they're probably about 30.
Okay, so that's what it is right now, is 1,000. 1,110 a month for 30 spaces
sorry,
at
Jeff.
$37 a space.
we need a little levity every now and then.
I'd laugh too.
I wish I was.
Scares me. It just all of a
I
sudden.
think the sound is even better. Deflated.
Gravity.
With his pants, we're good.
A gravity pocket over here. Goodness.
So, I think that one, keep on your radar. I don't know
Yeah.
that it's going to be a significant change that we need to change the number in the budget, but we probably do need to figure that out and let them know if they're going to lose
Yeah.
spaces.
Somewhere down the road.
Well, we need to let them know now, because this
Yes.
probably started already.
Somewhere down the road, we might.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over there and look
take
at
that
them.
over.
I'm gonna look at them studs after a while, so.
Any other questions about 127? There's a lot of things in there. One thing we do need to add in there, I think it was up in the air at the beginning of the year if we had that agreement with regional planning for that loan fund.
Yeah, that was in professional services, wasn't it?
I thought it was economic development. It's an economic development. So the loan fund grant application that Midmo Regional Planning did.
Let's put that back in there. We got an email from Dave, I think.
Yeah, do you have a number for me? I wanna say it was 7,000 something.
Is it his name, Dave?
Yes, Buck. I can probably pull up POs.
And that may have been forwarded from Jeff, I think. Yeah, here it is, the county's funding, 7,254.
7254, we'll go back in there for that. And I think it's only if they request it, so we just kind of have it set aside in an open PO in case they do request that funding. Other questions in 127?
Do we have a contract with anybody for shredding paper?
We have a couple of departments that do have a contract for that. I know that the prosecutor does, I know the health department does, and I think juvenile does as well. They have like a trash can that's locked that you can throw papers in, and they come every so often and take that trash can
Park back
outside,
in the back.
unlock it, and shred the entire thing. And
The
that,
rest of us just call a company and have them come the day and watch them put it in the truck. Like after an election.
So we just don't dump it in a dumpster and wait for the waste management to haul it off and
No,
bury
it's
it?
usually in storage.
Some
When the
do.
year is over, when we are able to destroy it, then we do that.
Okay.
I took about 40 boxes this last year.
So because the assessor's office has the practice of just throwing it in a dumpster, letting it sit for a week while everybody walks by and looks at it, and then buries it in the landfill.
Huh.
Maybe I'll address that when we get to the assessor's office. Okay, thank you.
Who's the on-site truck or whatever that we have that comes in there and does that?
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
the
fine.
other departments that don't have like a monthly service do that. Like we get together and when everybody has a bunch of stuff, and there is quite a bit of stuff over in storage at the moment that could go, we need to have those departments
Yep.
continue to clean that up.
Okay.
So that's if you have a whole bunch of stuff, but if you just have a few of them, you throw it in your little shredder in your office and
Right,
then it
yes.
goes into the bottom of the dog cage or whatever, so.
Sometimes we recycle, depends if it's full.
One other item in here that you guys probably should take a look at, extension services. So they send a letter and do a request every year. They have not requested an increase. I will say that that has been an interesting topic with our Auditors Association this year. We kind of did a survey of what other places were paying. We are paying significantly more than some counties are. I don't know if you all are good with that number, if you want to discuss that number. They do submit a letter annually that requests that funding, which I will pull up for you.
By statute, I forget, it's a certain percent that you're,
I don't think that it is. I think you are required to help fund them, but we are currently covering 68% of their budget.
the statute doesn't specify.
Well,
Because I have some counties that are only contributing $40,000 to their extension.
so when you say 68% of the budget, that's to having a building open and then possibly 2 employees, I think.
I think
So
I
that's
do
not
have a
all
bud-
their other specialists
No, I do
That-
have a budget.
actually work or, I don't know. I'm on the council and I see where the money goes.
I don't have a problem. I just wanted you to be aware if there's any changes. We haven't,
I just have a problem with the University of Missouri getting all this money, but I think they should be putting more into that council than they do and helping more than they do.
And we
Not
have
that I
a-
don't, I mean, I'm fine with what we give to it. They got the Master Gardeners, they got a nutrition program,
Yeah.
4-H, FFA.
and I will say that there are some counties that provide them office space. So we are not one of those counties. We do not provide them county office space to
Our
run
council
out of.
actually owns their own building.
Correct,
We
correct.
have paid into those
So-
things when they were.
I think they do a lot of good, so
I don't have a problem. I just
I'm
wanted you to
fine.
be aware that we are funding more than some counties do. If you're good with it, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think they do great things for the county with, yeah, with kids and all kinds of things. So I think they provide a great service. It's just, I wanted you to be aware.
That's fine.
I'm continued to be impressed by their FFA and 4-H
I am
stuff.
too.
It's just amazing what those kids can do.
I just want you to be aware too that we have in the past limited them on increases in salary to what county employees see in an increase. So that has been an issue in the past when their budget's growing by 13-14% and we are not. That's where we have kind of cut that off. This year, they are not asking for an increase over the last 2 years, so.
No.
Okay.
If you guys don't have anything else in 127, health insurance fund is on page 48.
You know, we can get into the year and talk about different kinds of wellnesses, or even actually one of you guys want to get involved with the wellness committee that Christy and her wellness people do, that maybe they can come up with different ideas or something.
I think Sarah Beck's doing it now. She's working pretty hard on trying to improve.
Yeah, and COVID kind of shut them down as far as
Yes.
doing stuff on that.
I've been seeing a lot of emails on it.
Lately.
I'm like their poster child, so if you can get me to do it, then you'll be able to talk.
We do have $50,000 for employee wellness. We also have about $10,000 set aside for her salary. We kind of dropped that back just because of COVID and we weren't necessarily using it. It may go back up. That one's kind of based on the number of hours that she spends on wellness activities, so she's keeping track of that separately. I'm not concerned that we could adjust that if needed, but we have not spent $10,000 in the past, so I think that's a good number for now. Other things in there.
Nope.
Page 50 is information systems. As we kind of talked about this morning earlier, Brian's budget picks up quite a bit of the equipment service contracts for different departments. So that's probably the largest cost outside of salaries in his department is those equipment service contracts.
Alrighty.
And there are a bunch of them, but I don't think he had any other changes otherwise to his budget. And if you would like to see a list of those. If I could get there, I can pull them up if you want to talk about any of those individually or if you're good.
Only thing I've got, we've got a note on cybersecurity that might,
Yeah, it's kind of early to
Yeah.
get some real handle on a lot of that cost
Yeah.
yet.
yeah.
So next is building maintenance. I do not have any notes of anything besides salaries in there either. Do you have anything you want to talk about or questions?
Nope, I think all we had on there was mainly positions and salaries, I think. Mainly all that other stuff would be capital that we've been talking about for the buildings.
Right.
Right.
So he pays for supplies and repairs and then utilities for most of the buildings. If the buildings have their own fund, it's coming directly out of that fund. But for the other buildings, it's coming out of Greg's budget. So that's why you see that broken down with courthouse, annex, Carnegie, health department, juvenile, Shepherd's, Adams.
So there's what, about 7,000 difference, it looks like, between yours and his request. And
I would say, well,
It's changed.
there's a lot of change there between his request and mine, so
Aren't-
the
I was
salary
looking at
side
the
of. yeah.
bottom dollar
Well,
sign.
with most of
Okay.
there was quite a bit of changes in the salary side, mine's lower, and then I picked up quite a bit of adjustment to the actual on utilities and supplies and repairs.
So we're going to have an Adams building occupied, heated and cooled, or at least parts of it for our
Yes.
calendar. Is that played into the utilities there that we didn't have a year ago?
27 sub-department.
Yeah,
So we are already paying utility. Oh, you mean to up it?
yeah, I upped it some. I didn't have a good estimate of how much additional it was going to be. I mean, because really, hopefully, you're only heating and cooling the office side of that. Are you heating and cooling the?
Oh, it was warm in there the other day on a cold day. I noticed that. So I'm not sure how that was.
So we were paying utilities already for heating and cooling. What that change looks like going from what it was to what it's going to be, I don't know what that number is.
Okay. As we vacate the lower level of Carnegie, we continue. I mean, we're paying utilities for Carnegie, right?
Yes.
And we're going to continue, and no matter whether Greg was there or if public defenders are there,
Yeah,
that doesn't
one-
change anything.
That one shouldn't really change anything.
Okay.
The only thing that would change is if they're taking over that additional space, then I need to charge the other two counties.
Yes, you do,
Yeah.
right?
So
And I
we're gonna
think our costs will go up there a little bit because
We don't
with
get much anyways, just
Well, I know, but we're gonna be heating and cooling more people space, which is now been supply space.
Right, well, what I'd go by is square footage, and that's about,
Right. I mean, we get to turn around and charge out like 37% of the cost to the other two counties? Is
It's
that what
based
it?
on square footage.
Oh,
population,
well,
how many cases they.
But, yeah, I know. Well, that's not gonna change much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, we pay the biggest part.
So next is planning on page 54. One thing on the salary side that I kind of want some direction on, because it's not necessarily salary, is they did ask for a cell phone stipend for a part-time employee. That has not been our policy in the past. It has only been full-time employees that we provide that stipend to. I don't know how you want
Prefer
to.
keep that full-time. And if we have to make accommodations within the salary, then that would be,
So is that for our our snow plow driver?
No.
No, it's
No.
the inspector.
Yeah,
Oh,
part-time
okay,
inspector.
yeah.
and is that going away?
For that one, yeah.
And we're just training new ones, or is that never going away?
So, I mean, that's their contact for everybody. I don't even know if he has an office desk, does he? Office
no
phone,
idea.
landline? Because if you're waiting to get your footings inspected to pour them or what have you, you gotta be able to get a hold of him. So could we do a part-time cell phone stipend? Instead of, what is it, $30?
If that phone is really used for that and nothing else, then maybe the county needs to supply the planner.
So then you wanna pay $150 a month instead of $30 a month? The
I think-
$30 a month, we're really getting off cheap letting them use their own phone and just giving them a,
Well, I think in
Stipend,
some
I think.
circumstances, is it the consistency of the number?
Yep.
So if I have contractors out there that have the inspector's number, do I want that to be the same number all the time? Or do I want it changing with every person I put into that position? That's a
I'll
consideration.
change it in my phone if y'all change inspector. That's my personal opinion on it. If we wanna have a phone and say, this is when he leaves, our new inspector, he's gonna have the same number, we can look at that, but I think we're getting way cheaper this way. But if we wanna have more control over that line, then
So what are you thinking, that it would be a $15 stipend instead of a $30 stipend, or?
it's kinda where I was going with it. I mean, they legitimately use it for that. I don't know how many calls they get each day, Kristen, if it's.
I don't either. I
one
don't have
or
any of that
21.
information.
I would look at it from the convenience of the builder, construction people. They need a response, and they need it now, and they need to know who to call and when to get it done. And as much as I'm not concerned that that person gets to, call a restaurant and get carry-out food on the same phone that we're paying $15 a month on. That doesn't bother me. Well, it's a bargain for us, isn't it?
Yeah, he could come in and say, look, I'm not using my phone for county business. I just don't want people having my personal line.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
on vacation, and I don't even want it ringing. Whereas then we would have to get another phone, and I think is what Kristen was kind of saying we could do.
Well,
I'd take advantage of the stipend if we can.
Yeah, I'm
Can.
fine with,
Are you making that exception for that one part-time employee?
yes.
I
yes.
got other ones I wanted for part-timers. And we've-
They
we
need to
said
have,
no.
this is a
this is
special.
this isn't for the part-timer, it's for the contractor.
No, it's for the part-time.
Well, no, it's for the convenience of the contractor. He's got to get that footing looked at. He's got to get it looked at now. Who does he call?
Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
But, I got a prosecutor who's part-time that wants a cell phone stipend too. Our policies are full-time.
I
So
understand.
that's why we've turned part-timers away. So this one, I get it, it's the one that's been there forever. He went part-time. Contractors know his number. They want to, and he had the cell phone stipend when he was full-time. Now he's part-time. Is that the angle we're going? Are we going to stay with part-timers?
So,
Are we gonna get somebody to fill his position at some point?
It's special, this is a, they need to come before us and ask, but this is a special, so.
Case by case
Yeah,
determination
it's
of,
not, it's,
And if they don't have any hours that month, you know, but this guy
Yeah.
will, he always has, but, I mean, I don't know that as a
No, well,
part-timer.
I think it's so difficult to make a policy that covers 400 people,
It is.
and because there's exceptions. And here's an exception. Why punish contractors not, and say, you know, I'm sorry, you can't call this guy because we don't want to change our policy? Well,
I'm not
I-
saying they can't call.
well, so.
no, you can call him, but who's he?
I think if you are on vacation,
Right.
it would have to be the full 2 weeks of vacation. Otherwise, you would need your phone and you would get the stipend. So like if he would take a full 2 weeks and have no hours, then we wouldn't pay the stipend,
Fine.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
I'm, as I say, I'm looking at convenience for the taxpayer
I am too.
contractor,
I think,
who,
Yeah,
you know
It's
what?
just a benefit for us to be able to use their personal phone.
A governmental entity gets a reputation for how they treat the people that do business with them. And I'd like to be, I'd like our reputation to continue to be better than the reputation of other political entities.
and sooner or later, he's gonna retire. And when he retires, this goes away. So,
Famous last words.
I mean, if we have somebody that's gonna continue, if we can keep that position part-time, I don't have a problem continuously doing it. And if the prosecutor comes in and says, look, I use my phone all the time, so I don't want my personal number out there, you guys need to supply me with a phone, we may at that point have to give them a phone to use at the prosecutor's office, even if
He
it's
does
part-time.
that would fit.
But I don't wanna carry around 2 phones. I mean, that could be an option too. I don't wanna give out my personal cell phone number.
they're coming for us.
Well, but like Brian was saying this morning, that's the problem. Now, we have a personal phone out there with all the people that
Yeah.
are, it's a security problem.
No,
yes.
this,
What phone?
Mark's.
Any personal phone?
So what are you gonna have on there that's not
I
open
have no
to?
idea.
I think it's more of an access to our network.
Yeah.
So if you put your email on your phone, you've now created an unsecured connection to our county network, is where we're talking. So in some circumstances, it
What's the
is,
difference between it and a private phone? So between, if we give them a phone to use and their own private phone, what are you gonna put on that?
I think you
County
have,
phone.
you have the control over the county phone that when they're done, it comes back to you and they no longer have that
Or you
connection.
can shut it off.
Right.
But we'll be addressing that in Brian's.
yeah,
I'm more
Okay.
concerned with what they have access to, that if somebody got a hold of their phone and, I don't know. I think we're getting down in the weeds on it, but
Something to think about also, just throwing this out there, if they're using the phone for county business, it could be sunshine. So
Yep.
their personal data on their phone, if you're paying them that, it could be sunshine, everything.
It's 15 a month, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
but if they're answering emails on their personal phone, it could be sunshineable.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can sunshine my sunshine all day long. It's,
Are you guys good with $15 a month? Currently, he would have been getting 30 as a full-time employee.
I'm fine.
I'm good with starting there.
yeah.
Okay.
If somebody else wants us, we need to do it case by case and
They had 2 other changes they had requested. One was an additional $1,000 in vehicle equipment operation. My projection was 5,000. I gave them 6,500. They wanted it to be 7,500.
Seems like your 6,500 is
Reasonable.
reasonable
Yeah.
to me.
And then they also wanted a tool and shop supplies line for $250. I don't know. I didn't have any other notes besides that, so I don't know if it's the inspector needs a screwdriver, so he has a line to go out and buy a screwdriver. I don't know. I don't know what that line.
I defer to the contractor.
you know, you do break tape measures and we need different things. I don't know. You talk about anything specific?
I don't remember.
I mean,
didn't
I
remember
think,
talking about it.
I think
Sorry.
for $250, you could increase their office supply line. In that circumstance, it's an office supply to them. I need a screwdriver to remove a plate cover. I get a
He needs a
screwdriver.
flashlight, he needs new batteries for the flashlight, he needs a bulb for the flashlight.
Yeah,
That's
so-
fine.
So, are you good with taking office supplies from 500 to 750 and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes.
instead of adding an additional
Yeah,
line
that's fine.
for?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, health and welfare, so public administrator is next in the book. The only changes we really made to his budget was dividing up that mileage amount of 6,000. We created an insurance line, and a vehicle equipment operation line in there. Let me pull it up so you can see it. We stayed with the $6,000 number. We just divided it up into 3 lines, left $500 in mileage. And then $600 in mileage, $400 in insurance. And then he also has $5,000 in vehicle equipment operation. That one, just not knowing that first year, we could get a better handle on numbers next year after we have a year of history, but. Any objections there?
No. Did we talk about the pauper funeral?
We did.
Does that
It-
still, seems a little high?
In years past, we've paid that many. It's kind of a guess as to
okay.
how many we have to pay for.
We just got lucky this year?
Yes?
We upped it to $1,000 a funeral, I think Freeman, I think Dooley Trimble, I
Two
think
is
they
what
came, before that, we were paying, was it?
We're paying 250.
Yeah, we were paying, they said there's no.
Well, I don't have a problem with
The amount per.
the amount per. I'm just thinking that we're kind of guessing high here, but,
No.
It was 14,000 last year. So we paid for 14.
oh, it was actually.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
we were,
I withdraw my comment.
So it's really a guess as to how many we're gonna have to pay for.
All right.
If you would like it
I'm
lower,
not
I can
worried
lower.
about Ralph taking this money and using it for something else. Let's put it that
we
way.
had
I
to
am
add-
not.
We had to add some last year, the year before, because the number of funerals was, yeah.
You're okay with the fees?
Yeah, so fees is the other one in Ralph's budget. So we kind of talked about while he was here. Their current policy was to kind of wait and review those cases at the end of the fiscal year. So of the 51,000 that he has in there right now, you'll see all but 2,600 has come in since September. We're trying to change that process to where he reviews those monthly based on when he's doing those annual settlements. So hopefully that will give us a better idea
That's a
of
better picture, yeah.
how much that's going to be. He's at 54,000 right now. 54,564 is as of today.
So what did you
We
have?
could go back up a little if you wanted.
He's at 54,564 versus what's this 29 that shows here?
Right.
How much did you have come in November? Will you go back to that? 'Cause I was just, wherever you were just at, there's,
Well,
look at what's
so.
come in November and December.
So yeah, I had 2,600 prior to the 1st of September, and everything else has come in since September. That's why my projection was so low, is
Right.
because I didn't have a good number to base it on, so I based it on last year's number.
I mean, years past, we were getting up to the 100,000 mark every year. But it's
Probably
changed
safe
quite a
leaving
bit.
that 70 in there. I mean, it's,
So I would say this is through December 2nd. I don't know that he's gonna bring in another $20,000 in the month of December, but I could say he could bring in another 10.
Make it 65.
Okay.
looking
And
at
considering
what he had in
this is really
November.
his first year, and
So
before
he-
that, we were bringing in,
So what was coming up in November?
we were
I mean, there
bringing
was,
in next to nothing.
there's days he's bringing in over 1,000 a day, and then some were only 500.
Yeah, It just depends on which case he's looking at and whether they have the funding
Right, if they have.
to
money.
actually pay those fees.
Okay, 65.
Okay. So page 59 is the health department. One change to the health department that is not in the budget in front of you is the court order that got approved this morning for the 529,000, whatever the total was for that ELC contract. It was not included in the budget because we didn't approve that till this morning. It will get added on both the revenue and the expenditure side.
You want the number, Krista?
It's yeah, give me actual number if you have it.
28,305.
I will get that added. I will not do it right now because it takes me a little bit to add those lines, but that's the only change she really talked about other than salary changes. Did you guys have things in her budget you wanted to talk about? So then page 63 is the circuit clerk. All I have down for her is salaries. Again, a little bit of history on that one, just so you guys have it to think about. Originally, that position was there to do some scanning to get some files removed from the attic. It was supposed to be a 1-year agreement, and we are on year.
8 or 9.
I can actually find that, hopefully.
2007, not 12. I can't remember. We started payroll.
I don't even know if that's being used for what we
I don't-
wanted it to be used for in the first place.
I don't know that it
anymore.
is, and that's my concern is,
And then that takes me back to, this is a function that the state should be covering. If they want to give them another person,
so yes, that's my concern is I don't think it's being used for the original purpose, and the 500 hours of additional that she's requested, I don't know that it's going to be used for that either. That wasn't her explanation. It was to do things that are
Training
required for her to
purposes.
report things to the county, like bank statements and board of prisoners. So I think we're getting into some iffy territory there about funding things that are required to be funded by the state. So it looks like we added that line in 2006. So 1-year agreement has
2006
now,
for record preservation, and have we had any, are there any dents in what's been
I don't know that.
filmed and we've gotten rid of?
I do know
So-
that the attic supposedly they were down to maybe just probate up there or just one section that was still, but I don't have any ideas on that information. So I think that's one where you guys may need to ask for some more information if you want it, because I don't have the answers.
I think we need to ask.
I'm with you guys on this one.
Okay, so that may be, is there certain questions you want asked, information you want provided?
Well, I think you might recap, why did this start? What original intent? What
Have
has
you made
what
progress
has
on
it
the
evolved to?
Right.
When can we see the end of this? Or should we have seen the end of it sooner?
I mean, the stuff that they wanted for, because they're not able to get a bill of cost for reimbursement to us. OSCA says they need X number of people. That's not us. That's, OSCA says they need that many people, then the state should be giving them to them. I mean,
Well, and I feel like it's kind of become her testing ground for full-time employees. They come into the part-time position to see if they work out, and then they move to the state open position. So there's a lot of changeover of people in that part-time position.
And it's a lot of work on it.
Yes, it
I
is.
thought this extra 500 hours, she's talking about more for training than, I mean, which is not,
And again,
I
yeah.
think the existing money is being used for some of that too.
So that one, I think more information from Donnell, but I didn't have any other notes of changes she wanted to
that's
make.
the only thing I had.
Did you guys have anything there you wanted to talk about?
No.
Um, 153 is court services. Again, I think there wasn't a lot of change there. There's a lot of what ifs in that department. That's the one where the jury expense comes out of. That's where if we need an extra court reporter because of a change of venue. So there's a lot of what ifs in there. We try to budget the best we can and prepare for the what ifs later.
That's just if the judge comes without the recorder, right?
Yes, or if they all have cases at the same time and they don't have one available.
Or if they're, yeah, even on the jury script, if we have grand jury, if we don't have grand jury kind of thing.
And obviously, if you look at that jury script line, the last 2 years, we have not had a lot of jury trials because of COVID.
So there's legislation introduced for reimburse for that stuff, the change of venue stuff. So if we have another judge come in and we gotta bring a recorder in for them, or reporter,
So
I guess I'm
we-
using the wrong word.
We are billing for that at the moment, so you can't see it on your line here, but you can on the screen. We've started tracking those cases with a separate project to try to track the cost of that case and then the reimbursement coming back in. So they did have one earlier this year that cost us about $1,900. That does not include salaries, so the salaries gets tacked on after the fact, but that's the actual true cost of feeding the jurors or the items needed for them here, and then the additional salary cost that it takes to run that actual jury trial.
And they will bill it back if they can.
So if we have to pay for another reporter for the associate judge for a change of venue here,
That's in that professional services
So-
line. And it's kind of.
do we have control over that? I mean, they have to spend it for that. They can't transfer stuff over and just use it for whatever.
According
Or are we
to-
better
Yeah.
off just waiting, and if it happens, then we do a transfer and
Yeah,
budget
I don't-
adjustment?
I don't know. $3,000 probably isn't going to get you very far, and it could be more than a court reporter. It could be, hey, I need an interpreter for this case. It's just those random things that come up that are required to be provided that we don't necessarily have budgeted.
I think that's the key word, is it's required. We unfortunately don't have a whole lot of say in it, but to Harry's comment earlier about, we don't have to do a budget adjustment later on for another $3,000 if we up that or not. Or do we worry about it later if we just pull out contingency?
Well, so in the last 2 years, we've spent $730 total.
So leave it alone.
So I think we start with the 3,000, and if we get to the point
I'm
where
good.
we need it to be more, we add
and
more.
we're just now really starting up with jury trials again.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
They did pass a law that says that we can get reimbursed from that. The law is passed. However, they didn't have.
No
to fund it.
funding.
So.
Yeah, so we're gonna put a tax lien on their courthouse or something.
Well, they're looking at this year, they're supposed to put some funding in there for that.
We could maybe take a couple of their
Just to
sheriff
fill out-
cars if you got any you got your eyes on,
yeah,
We're
only
gonna
reason I
take this
know
for
that we got a
payment.
lot of jury, 'cause I got more people wanting to get out of jury duty and they're calling me and I'm like, sorry.
Next one is on page 67, pretrial release program. You will see 2021 was the first year we separated this program out from the marshals. So you don't see 2020 activity really in there. They didn't have any additional requests. The big change here is, you will see in court services. So on the previous page, there used to be a budget line for insurance for the judges. They have decided that that insurance is no longer required. So they took that money and divided it up and added an additional amount to the meetings, travels, and dues in 153. And then the remaining amount went in 154 to provide training to those employees.
is that revenue number kind of a little too conservative or not?
So as of today, we are at 11,325.
I thought, oh, okay. I'm
Projected
sorry.
was 17 at one point.
That's probably not gonna happen then.
No, it's
Never-
not.
I withdraw my question.
Well,
comment.
and you can see by up on the screen, that one's kind of depending on whether or not they can actually get that cost from the person on monitoring.
Okay.
Nothing else with pretrial. 155 is court security. That is the marshals. The biggest change there was that meetings, travels, and dues. We talked about, they will be sending 4 people to a required training out of state. We would assume that that cost would go away next year. We have not ever had the opportunity that we had to send 4 at one time. Usually the most we would have to send would be 1. So that's 18,000 of that 24,500 is for that training. Nothing in there. We'll keep moving. Next one is child support. Child support is my favorite budget because they are fully funded by the state. So everything spent in that department is reimbursed. Their contract with the state is actually higher than what we have budgeted here. And her only request was additional funding for salaries. Do you guys have questions about her budget?
Nope.
So we're skipping to page 74, which is Springer. And again, the only one most of her stuff had to do with salaries. I think there is one we should talk about now because it's not particular salary for anybody, was her overtime line.
That was not a norm before this year. And now it's being, we even have budget for next year.
Well, and after talking with Toby, I really think that budget number needs to be removed. The only reason they are currently using overtime is because they have open part-time and full-time use specialist positions. Those are the ones that are there the 24/7. They have to cover those circumstances. If she was fully staffed, I don't think she would need that overtime line. So the opinion was that if we need overtime next year, we transfer from her salary or part-time line to cover that, because if she's fully staffed, she wouldn't need it. So her recommendation was to remove the overtime. I was being more conservative and not thinking about it that way, that we were going to have to cover additional overtime because it's been significant here the last few payrolls.
So we're gonna remove it?
My suggestion would be to remove it. Do you guys have any?
Sounds reasonable to me.
The other line that is of concern in their budget is the residential emergency services line on the revenue side. It's 43766. Due to some changes by law to their requirements, we are housing less children. And Toby had the same concern I did. That number is going to be hard to predict. That drop off and change did not happen until October. And we did see a significant decrease in that revenue starting in October. I don't think we're going to get to the 194 this year. And it could be even less next year because we had 10 months at the higher amount this year. So I think that number needs to come down. I just don't, it's a moving target at the moment. We don't know exactly what that looks like going forward. And part of it is they used to be able to double bunk kids in a room. They now have to single bunk them. The detention side with the raise the age has created some issues on that side as well. So there's a lot of changes in that department as far as how they run their facility that is going to affect that side.
Realistically, 150, 140, what do you think?
Realistically, I'm thinking you're closer to 110.
Let's do it. I mean, you've got good reason to feel that way. I had asked these two gentlemen overnight about a break at 12:30.
Yeah.
So just, actually, I need to be somebody we're somewhere at 12:30, so.
Do you want to stop after
Well,
this budget and maybe take a break?
Well, I think we could blast through the county coroner unless
Okay.
we wanted to save that for a takeoff and after lunch, but
Those were my only two changes in their department, unless you
Okay.
guys had anything else. And then county coroner, again, autopsies are kind of like pauper funeral. It's a guess to how many cases we will actually have to provide an autopsy for. There is an increase in cost of the actual autopsies in 2022. But again, it's kind of a guess as to how many we will actually have to perform. My thoughts are to leave it where it is and adjust if we need to later. If you want it to go up based on the actual cost per autopsy, we could adjust it some.
Let's see.
it's a swag anyway, so.
It is. I mean, it really is a guess as to how many people are, it's infant or youth fatalities, and then if it's an unknown or suspicious death are the two circumstances that we're required to perform them. So it really is depending on what happens.
It's one of those things we pray we don't have to spend.
Yes. Other than that, the only two things in there is we pay a professional services fee to our, I call him a medical examiner, not a coroner, because he's not elected. And then we do pay for a bond for him. I know he has in the past requested that his fee go up. I am not opposed to that. I think we are getting a significant deal at the moment. And we have not increased it for sure since I've been here.
Years ago, we increased it by what the employee raise was, but we have not done that for quite some
Should
time.
we make a request to him or just wait till he asks? He makes a request to us.
When he requested, it was substantial, more than, it was 3 times what we were paying. So I'm not sure. A good gesture would be good, but to ask,
I almost think at this point, because we have gone so long without one, I don't think that 15,000 would be
out of the question.
out of the question, but that's totally up to you guys.
Yeah.
Again, we are getting off way cheaper than any other county is currently.
This is a licensed physician, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And if that ever changes hands, I can guarantee you it's going to be more.
And I'm open to suggestions if you have another dollar amount. That was just the one, I figured double of what we
That's
were
more than
currently
double,
paying.
yeah, so I'd say,
I'd say wait till I ask for something.
Well, he asked for, did he ask for 3 times?
Not in the last few years.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Probably find it. I can bring that back after lunch, how much the last time. I'm sure I have that in there, and when that was.
Okay, I don't have that. so-
Okay, do that.
well, regardless of that, I think if we would say, hey, we're more than doubling your salary, I think you.
Well, my fear is that
Probably
he
be-
one day is going to want to retire, and the amount that we're going to have to pay the next person, I feel is going to be significant. If we start making at least some movement up, it will help us in the long run of not having to take it all at one
Do
time.
you have any idea how many times he signs his name as a coroner in an annual period of time?
I don't have that number. John, do you have
What's
stuff?
that?
How
How
many
many
times the
autopsies?
coroner has to,
A year.
Well,
how many
no, the coroner
He
signs.
signs a death
No, it's more
certificate.
often than
Yeah.
a,
All the death certificates, and then he comes out on JCPD and Cole County's cases. I mean, he does an extraordinary job.
He gets a 1099, I guess.
Oh, yes.
So that is.
Not a
Do we
W-2.
pay when he
Yes.
goes to a
Correct.
SAPD?
Yeah, he's a 1099, not a
They
W.
pay.
It's the same. No, it's the
Oh.
same. He gets paid the same. So he's the coroner, just like whenever PD calls me out, I don't get an extra, because I'm the coroner whenever he's not available. Just for particular cases though, he has to still sign all of them. And he deals with the hospitals and all, I mean, you do a lot in that position. I agree with her. We are both of us, we are getting a.
I'm not disagreeing with her or you on it, but, I mean, if, I'd wait till he requests it, and, you know, if he retires next year, and then the next guy comes in, or we have to hire somebody, or bid it out, or interview people, and we find out it's gonna be 30,000, we just deal with it then, so,
Let's start there after lunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find that.
Okay.
Do I motion
Make
to
a motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Stand in
What time would you
recess.
like to-
Stand in recess
Motion.
till 12:30, or 1:30?
145. 137.
1:45.
45.
Motion to adjourn till 1:45.
All right,
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye. 21.6% of the time we're recessed. Oh, man.
And then how long are we going home?
3 o'clock.
Better
I
get
have
some
to
lunch,
be
too.
out of here.
I have to tomorrow.
Yeah, don't come back.
I was gonna
angry.
say, I probably have to leave at like 5 till.
Actually, well, I have to be there too.
Sitting out kills me.
Okay.
I want
Will you
a
sign
$1,000
these?
share.
No.
Hey, no, get him one of those sports ball things he can
What?
sit on.
She's ding donging her shit.
Ding dong
You
machine.
know, one thing that, Kristen, when you were asking me numbers on mine, I didn't think about my notary bond and the insurance for notary. We've got $100 in there for commission. What else does that cover for commission?
We probably need to increase it. Her $100 is just her bond.
Yeah, I didn't think about